Thank you for joining me today from the desk of the Executive Director. I'm James Pennington, the Executive Director of Back Bay Mission. As you can tell, we're not at the desk today, but rather we're at the Micah Day Center, where we provide showers and computers, a mailing address, washing facilities, for clothing, case management, for people that are unsheltered experiencing homelessness. But we're here today in front of our clothing closet, which is not huge, but it serves us well. We could certainly use a bigger space. But I want to talk a little bit about some experiences I've had recently and share a little bit about why we do what we do here with our clothing closet. This past Sunday, around 11 o'clock, I met some new friends of mine from Ocean Springs out at in Gaucher at a Tibetan temple. And it's a Tibetan temple, which is really fascinating, in the middle of kind of Gaucher, which is rather country, right? A lot of open land. There's this incredibly gorgeous complex, a Buddhist temple. There are, I think, about 15 monks that live there, Buddhist monks, Tibetan monks. And they have some animals, they have some ponds where they raise fish. But what they do on Sunday from 11 to 2 is they have Thai food for a very reasonable price, right? So we ate lunch. They had about 5 different entrees, and you get to sit outside at picnic tables alongside the cattle and the horses and the goats and the sheep that they have there in the complex. But it was just a beautiful experience. And in talking to one of the Tibetan monks, he said that in our tradition, in our Buddhist tradition, it's very important to feed the other and to give away food to those who don't have and to share from your resources. And it made me think about some experiences I had back in Phoenix, Arizona when I lived there. We collaborated with the Sikhs, which is a growing, actually, faith tradition in Phoenix and other parts of the country. And the Sikhs, one of their missions and one of their main purposes was to offer free food and free clothing. They felt that was their call from their God, that they called by a variety of names. It's also the same in the Muslim tradition. In the Quran, there's this reading I wanted to share with you. It says, throughout the Holy Quran, Allah compares believers and disbelievers by how they treat those who are hungry and clothe the naked. They say the righteous or the believers are those who give food in spite of love for it to the needy, to the orphan, and to the captive. We feed you only for the countenance or the face of Allah. And that, of course, is their word for God. And that reminds me that when we clothe and we feed and we take care of the other, that we're really doing it in a sense for God, right? Because we all have that spark of divinity and that spark of God within us. So Jesus said, as we kind of think of the Christian tradition, because if we have the Buddhist tradition, we have the Sikh tradition, we have the Muslim tradition, the Baha'i tradition, the Jewish tradition says you shall clothe the naked, right? And take in the weary traveler or the homeless individual or the orphan. All of these major world religions teach us how important it is to clothe the naked, to feed the hungry, to give water to the thirsty. In fact, Jesus, in one of his parables and one of his messages, says, so when you do it to the least of these, which means those living in the margins, or those that have less, or those who are living in poverty, when you give them a cup of water, when you give them clothing or a coat, when you actually give them housing, and you help them with their basic necessities, it's as if you're doing it to me. And then, of course, in Jesus's parables, those you're talking to, they say, so when did we see you naked, Jesus? When did we see you hungry? When did we see you thirsty? When did we see you without a shelter? And that's when Jesus says, if you've done it to those around you who are living in poverty, who are living in want, who have less than, it's as if you're doing it to me. So all these major world religions, whether you believe in a religion or a faith tradition or not, really say that when we're feeding, when we're clothing, when we're housing other individuals, it's as if we're doing that for God, for Allah, for Jesus, for Buddha, for whatever faith tradition you follow. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to keep in mind, right? And could you imagine if, as an entire globe, globally, we would start to act on our faith in whatever God we believe in, whether we're Buddhist or we're Hindu or we're Christian or we're Baha'i or receipt, that we would start to feed and clothe and house those who don't have food and maybe don't have enough clothing and don't have housing and don't have clean water. Can you imagine? That we would provide for the needs of absolutely everyone, because the haves would share with the have-nots. And we know there's enough food to go around. We know there's enough clothing to go around, right? We know there's enough homes to go around. We can certainly build those homes, which is what we do here at Back Bay Mission. So I just wanted to give you kind of a little bit of a charge and a word of encouragement. If you are able, and I guess no matter who's listening to this, you're able, you can certainly send a box of clothing, of clean clothing. We especially need men's pants, men's jeans. Those are the things that we find out we run out of most quickly. We actually could always use socks and underwear. Interestingly enough, if you buy Bombas socks, a shout out to Bombas, if you buy their socks, they'll give one pair of socks to a homeless individual. And actually, I think we have a shipment of quite a few Bombas socks coming in the very near future. That's one of the things that people without a shelter ask for most, because it keeps their feet dry, keeps their feet clean, and keeps their feet from getting sores. And so think about what you can do. If you can collect clothing, if you can send a box of clothes, if you can send some socks, some underwear to us for our closet here, that would be absolutely awesome. And we always need hygiene products too. One thing that we do, it's very important for Back Bay Mission to partner with other organizations throughout the coast. And we partner with several organizations right around clothing and around food. But one in particular is an organization in Ocean Springs, a Catholic organization that every 2 weeks, they give us a sack full of men's jeans, which is incredibly helpful for those who are unsheltered. So thank you for joining me today. Pass it on today. Share this message. Share water, share food, share clothing, share what you can. And let's really get a global movement happening, right? Where we share what we have so that those who don't have also can share those beautiful gifts of resources that come from whatever God you understand and believe. So thank you for joining me today. We invite you to join us Wednesday also with our conversations, and invite you to support Back Bay Mission as we're moving into our 100th anniversary with your prayers, with your thoughts, with your finances, with your letters of good intention. And make sure you share this and comment back. So thanks for joining us today. Peace.